Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, Maverick family. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Welcome new viewers from all over the world. Thank you for joining us on the program tonight. We have so much to share with you this evening. First off, before we get started, I'll just mention that Donald Trump is facing another indictment, of course. And it's unusual, precedent setting, and disturbing. And we have the actual document. The indictment itself has been unsealed, and we have a copy of the document to show you this evening, so we can show you exactly what Donald Trump is up against and what he has been charged with. So we'll show you that. Leo, mouth of the South, performing what some would describe and what he describes as a community service, a public service, calling out, drawing attention to a rapist, convicted rapist in the Windsor-LaSalle area of Ontario, Canada. We'll show you that. Iran has unveiled its very first hypersonic missile. This is technology that even the United States does not have. Only a handful of countries possess this technology. Russia is one of those countries, and Iran now possesses the technology as well. That announcement was actually made earlier this week, but I did want to touch on that this evening. Also, another announcement that was made just a few days ago that I really have not had an opportunity to address is the World Health Organization launching its initiative to strengthen global health with its digital health initiative. Yes, it has all the earmarks of a digital medical ID passport. So we'll show you what Tedros had to say about that at the World Health Organization news conference, where that was announced earlier this week as well. And we're going to show you how deeply divided our journalists are and how journalism has become activism on many fronts, with a video from a woman named Nandini Jammy, who is going after the Daily Wire's hit film, What is a Woman? And its host. I'll show you how she's doing that, and then I'll show you what the real motivation is behind it, behind the attack, on the Daily Wire and Matt Walsh. So we have all that and a whole lot more coming up right here on the Maverick News Channel. Don't go away. I will be right back after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Fighting the Great Reset. By leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
I'm back, and I know that you missed him a lot, so I thought I'd bring Fred the Freedom Fish along for the ride tonight as well. Hello, Fred. Are you in there, buddy? He'll be along shortly. He'll swim by. You'll see. He's still reasonably free, but as you can see, that armed guy is still in Fred's sovereign territory. And he's got that machine gun. So I was speaking to the two of them, and I can tell you that what has happened is that they've come to an agreement. Fred said, hey, you're welcome to stay. But if you stay, you have to protect the country. So I'm going to be the leader of the country, and you get to be the Defense Department. And so they've got an agreement worked out. And I'm not sure exactly what the details are, how resources are being shared and so on. But now Fred is sharing his sovereign territory with this dude here with the machine gun. I can tell you that it didn't look to me like Fred had a whole lot of choice in the matter. But because this guy with the machine gun was promised riches beyond his wildest dreams and a place to stay and a peaceful existence in this sovereign territory, he's now sharing the area. He provides the defense. Fred will be providing other services and access to the livable space. So this is an ongoing, developing story, which we will continue to cover as Fred continues his quest for a utopian free fish society. More to come on that front. What else can I tell you? Lots of other stuff to share with you tonight, but let's dig into this Donald Trump stuff first of all. Oh, also the Toronto Holocaust Museum opened today, so there is that on the agenda for tonight as well. But here's Trump. Now, as you know, Trump has been indicted for a second time in this classified documents investigation. And it's an historic federal indictment. This has really never been done before. And the document itself has now been made public. I do have a copy of it. Let me just bring it up so you can see it here. Here it is. There's the document, the indictment. Grand jury charges that at times material to this indictment on or about the dates and approximate times stated below. Defendant Donald J. Trump was the 45th president of the United States of America. He held office from January 20th, 2017 until January 20th, 2021. As President, Trump had lawful access to the most sensitive classified documents and national defense information gathered and owned by the United States government, including information from the agencies that comprise the United States intelligence community and the United States Department of Defense. 2. Over the course of his presidency, Trump gathered newspapers, press clippings, letters, notes, cards, photographs, official documents, and other materials in cardboard boxes that he kept in the White House. Among the materials Trump stored in his boxes were hundreds of classified documents. 3. The classified documents Trump stored in his boxes included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. The unauthorized disclosure of these classified documents could put at risk the national security of the United States, foreign relations, the safety of the United States military, and human sources, and the continued viability of sensitive intelligence collection methods. 4. At 12 p.m. on January 20th, 2021, Trump ceased to be president. As he departed the White House, Trump caused scores of boxes, many of which contained classified documents, to be transported to the Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach, Florida, where he maintained his residence. It says here, Trump was not authorized to possess or retain those classified documents. Now that is sort of the key to the whole thing, isn't it? He will argue otherwise, or at least his lawyers will. 5. The Mar-a-Lago Club was an active social club which between January 2021 and August 2022 hosted events for tens of thousands of members and guests. After Trump's presidency, the Mar-a-Lago Club was not an authorized location for the storage, possession, review, display, or discussion of classified documents. Nevertheless, Trump stored his boxes containing classified documents in various locations at the Mar-a-Lago Club, including in a ballroom, a bathroom and shower, an office space, his bedroom, and a storage room. I will continue here because this lays it all out for us. 6. On 2 occasions in 2021, Trump showed classified documents to others as follows. A. They're saying here that in July of 2021, at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, the Bedminster Club, during an audio recorded meeting with a writer, a publisher, and 2 members of his staff, none of whom possessed a security clearance, Trump showed and described a plan of attack that Trump said was prepared for him by the Department of Defense and a senior military official. Trump told the individuals that the plan was highly confidential and secret. Trump also said, as president, I could have declassified it, and now I can't, but this is still a secret. In quotation marks. B. In August or September 2021, at the Bedminster Club, Trump showed a representative of his political action committee who did not possess a security clearance a classified map related to a military operation and told the representative that he should not be showing it to the representative and that the representative should not get too close. 7. This goes on. March 30th, 2022, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, opened a criminal investigation into the unlawful retention of classified documents at the Mar-a-Lago Club. A federal grand jury investigation began the next month. The grand jury issued a subpoena requiring Trump to turn over all documents with classification markings. Trump endeavored to obstruct the FBI, it claims here, and grand jury investigation and conceal his continued retention of classified documents by, among other things, here are the details. A, suggesting that his attorney falsely represent to the FBI and grand jury that Trump did not have documents called for by the grand jury subpoena. B, directing defendant Waltine Nauta to move boxes of documents to conceal them from Trump's attorney, the FBI and the grand jury. C, suggesting that his attorney hide or destroy documents called for by the grand jury subpoena. D, providing to the FBI and grand jury just some of the documents called for by the grand jury subpoena, while claiming that he was cooperating fully. And E, causing a certification to be submitted to the FBI and grand jury falsely representing that all documents called for by the grand jury subpoena had been produced, while knowing that, in fact, not all such documents had been produced. 8. As a result of Trump's retention of classified documents after his presidency and refusal to return them, hundreds of classified documents were not recovered by the United States government until 2022 as follows. A, on January 17th, nearly 1 year after Trump left office, and after months of demands by the National Archives and Records Administration for Trump to provide all missing presidential records, Trump provided only 15 boxes, which contained 197 documents with classification markings. B, 8B. On June 3rd, in response to a grand jury subpoena demanding the production of all documents with classification markings, Trump's attorney provided to the FBI 38 more documents with classification markings. 8C. On August 8th, pursuant to a court-authorized search warrant, the FBI recovered from Trump's office and a storage room at the Mar-a-Lago Club 102 more documents with classification markings. And then it goes on here and talks about Trump's co-conspirator. This is item 9. Defendant Nauta was a member of the United States Navy stationed as a valet in the White House during Trump's presidency. Beginning in August 2021, Nauta became an executive assistant to the office of Donald J. Trump and served as Trump's personal aide, or body man in quotation marks. Nauta reported to Trump, worked closely with Trump, and traveled with Trump. Then they move on to the Mar-a-Lago Club as item 10. The Mar-a-Lago Club, it says, was located on South Ocean Boulevard in Palm Beach, Florida, and included Trump's residence, more than 25 guest rooms, 2 ballrooms, a spa, a gift store, exercise facilities, office space, and an outdoor pool and patio. As of January 2021, the Mar-a-Lago Club had hundreds of members and was staffed by more than 150 full-time, part-time, and temporary employees. Yes, we know that. Item 11. Between January 2021 and August 2022, the Mar-a-Lago Club hosted more than 150 social events, including weddings, movie premieres, and fundraisers that together drew tens of thousands of guests. Okay. They're worried about security, or at least they're saying they do, basically. Item 12, the United States Secret Service provided protection services to Trump and his family after he left office, including at the Mar-a-Lago Club, but it was not responsible for the protection of Trump's boxes or their contents. Trump did not inform the Secret Service that he was storing boxes containing classified documents at the Mar-a-Lago Club. Then it goes on about the classified information. Hang on here just a sec. See, we've got about 44 pages of this, so I can't really take the time to read all of this, but here is the classified information. It says the national security information was information owned by, produced for, and under the control of the United States government pursuant to Executive Order 12958, signed on April 17, 1995, as amended by Executive Order 13292 on March 25, 2003, and Executive Order 13526 on December 29, 2009. National security information was classified as top secret, secret, or confidential as follows. A, information was classified as top secret for the unauthorized disclosure of that information reasonably could be expected to cause exceptionally grave damage to the national security that the original classification authority was able to identify or describe. B, information was classified as secret if the authorized disclosure of that information reasonably could be expected to cause serious damage to the national security that the original classification authority was able to identify or describe. C, information was classified as confidential if the unauthorized disclosure of that information reasonably could be expected to cause damage to the national security that the original classification authority was able to identify or describe. And it goes on and on. We'll come back to this document. I'm going to pull out of this for a moment, but as you know, Donald Trump tonight, last night, and every night claims to be an innocent man. This is the statement that he came out with after being indicted. This is his social media statement.
Very sadly, we're a nation in decline, and yet they go after a popular president, a president that got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country, by far, and did much better the second time in the election than the first. And they go after him on a boxes hoax, just like the Russia hoax and all of the others. This has been going on for 7 years. That they can't stop because it's election interference at the highest level. There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person. They had the Mueller hoax, the Mueller report, and that came out. No collusion after 2.5 years. That was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats. But this is what they do. This is what they do so well. If they would devote their energies to honesty and integrity, it would be a lot better for our country. They could do a lot better. They could do a lot of great things. But when you look at what's happened to our country in the last 3 years, we were energy independent. We had a strong military that wasn't woke. We were doing so well. We were respected all over the world. Got the biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history. And what do? You have a president where an election was taken, got more votes than any sitting president in history by far, never anything even close. And they come after me because now we're leading in the polls again by a lot against Biden and against the Republicans by a lot. But we're leading against Biden by a lot, a tremendous amount. And we went up to a level that they figured the way they're going to stop us is by using what's called warfare. And that's what it is. This is warfare for the law. And we can't let it happen. We can't let it happen. Our country is going to hell. And they come after Donald Trump, weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI. We can't let this continue to go on because it's ripping our country to shreds. We have such big problems, and this shouldn't be one of them. It's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax, just like Russia, just like the fake dossier was a hoax. You saw the Durham report. You saw the Mueller report. It was all a big hoax. You had 2 impeachments, and they lost, and we won. And we had tremendous support. But that was a hoax and a scam. And now they're doing it again. It's just a continuation, 7 years, even after I'm out. But it's called election interference. They're trying to destroy a reputation so they can win an election. That's just as bad as doing any of the other things that have been done over the last number of years, and especially during the 2020 election. So I just want to tell you, I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong. And we will fight this out just like we've been fighting for 7 years. It would be wonderful if we could devote our full time to making America great again. And that's exactly what we did. But now, again, our country is in decline. We're a failing nation. And this is what they do. I'm an innocent man. We will prove that again. 7 years of proving it. And here we go again. Very unfair. But that's the way it is. I just want to thank everybody. We are doing something very special for our country. We're putting America first. I always put America first. And that's why we were in a position. Unfortunately, that position is no longer valid because they've done such a poor job. But we're in a position where we're going to make America great again. I'm innocent, and we will prove that very, very soundly and hopefully very quickly. Thank you very much.
He is right about one thing for sure. It's not good for the country. It is ripping the country apart. People are strongly on one side or the other on these issues. I think the country, the world, is growing weary of all this. He calls it warfare for the law. I call it lawfare. I've talked about it extensively on the show. That is what goes on now. All this, is playing out in the courts. They're using the DOJ, the FBI, the courts as a political weapon. It's the weaponization of the justice system. There's no doubt about that, and we're seeing it in Canada too. It's not good for the country. This, I think, is This is my opinion. I think it's craziness. Ultimately, I think Trump will be found not guilty. Again, it's my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a specialist in U.S. law, but I do know that the president has broad discretion when it comes to handling classified documents. He can unclassify just about anything he wants at just about any time. You notice the wording, though, in that indictment where he is quoted as telling someone that these documents are top secret and I could have declassified them at any time, but now I can't because I'm not the president anymore. So they are alleging that the documents in his possession were still classified, that because he wasn't the president, that he showed them to someone, that he is guilty. And we will have to see where all of that goes. I think that it is dangerous, honestly, for them to pursue this. It is dangerous for them to seek a conviction, but it is becoming fairly, well, I sometimes wonder if any of this is even real. I know that some people do want to lock him up. In some respects, I think this is payback for all the chanting that took place at all those Trump rallies when he was running against Hillary Clinton, and the people would shout, chant together, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. Well, now they want to lock him up, and that has been the rallying cry among Trump's opponents, the people suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, if you would like to call it that, for a long time. Now they're all clamoring and yelling, lock him up. Will it actually amount to anything? In the end, I doubt it. I think it's probably more theater. On the other hand, this has never been done before. If he is convicted, he could face something like 20 years in jail. 20 years. In a manner of speaking, they're accusing him of something similar to, or maybe even amounting to, treason. Certainly, it's the allegations of mishandling these documents. And yet, what did we see from Hillary Clinton with her, the servers that she held, that she had not properly secured? And she was not the president. She was a secretary of state. The rules do apply differently to her than they do to a president or even a former president. And in no way is it good for the United States to go down a road where they are even trying to lock up a former president, let alone actually doing it. Do you see where this would go if they lock him up? We have people out there right now who are already on the verge. They're ready, if you know what I'm talking about. You lock him up, you make a martyr out of him, and people will respond. We've already seen, rumblings about that kind of thing. You don't have to look very hard. You'll find it online. Some people have said for a long time that a civil war is brewing in the United States and maybe even in Canada. And this is exactly the kind of thing that could set something like that off. You see it in banana republics all the time, all through history, where some dictator in charge throws a political opponent in jail, and it's just enough to spark a political backlash that results in violence. Don't think for 1 minute that the United States, or Canada for that matter, is immune. And I fear that what happens in the United States in that regard could spill over into other countries like Canada, Mexico, maybe elsewhere. The effects of that, make no mistake, it could easily happen. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this, and we'll continue with our exploration of this indictment of Donald Trump.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, I think this is a really big story, even though, I'm not convinced that it's absolutely real, but even on the chance that there is some reality to this thing, and it isn't just some sort of political theater with the opposite intent in mind, or some weird, strange political goal that is hidden, the opposite of what they're telling you. I mean, I don't know, but let's continue with this because it is unprecedented, and it's all laid out right here. We've got the whole thing, so let's take a look. Item 14, the classification markings no foreign stood for the not releasable to foreign nationals and denoted that dissemination of that information was limited to United States persons. Item 15, classified information related to intelligence sources, methods, and analytical processes was designed as sensitive compartmented information, SCI. SCI was to be processed, stored, used, and discussed in an accredited sensitive compartmented information facility, and only individuals with the appropriate security clearance and additional SCI permissions were authorized to have access to such national security information. Item 16, when the vulnerability of or threat to specific classified information was exceptional and the normal criteria for determining eligibility for access to classified information were insufficient to protect the information from unauthorized disclosure, the United States could establish special access programs to further protect the classified information. The number of these programs was to be kept to an absolute minimum and limited to programs in which the number of persons who ordinarily would have access would be reasonably small and commensurate with the objective of providing enhanced protection for the information involved. Only individuals with the appropriate security clearance and additional SAP permissions were authorized to have access to such national security information, which was subject to enhanced handling and storage requirements. Item 17, pursuant to Executive Order 132526, information classified at any level could be lawfully accessed only by persons determined to be an appropriate United States government official to be eligible for access to classified information and who had signed an approved non-disclosure agreement, who received a security clearance, and who had a need to know the classified information. After his presidency, Trump was not authorized to possess or retain classified documents. I wonder if Joe Biden had anything to do with that. Biden claims that at no time has he directed or been involved in any of the legal initiatives here, and yet I smell something. 18, Executive Order 13526 provided that a former president could obtain a waiver of the need-to-know requirement if the agency head or senior agency official of the agency that originated the classified information, one, determined in writing that access was consistent with the interest of national security, and two, took appropriate steps to protect classified information from unauthorized disclosure or compromise and ensured that the information was safeguarded in a manner consistent with the order. Trump did not obtain any such waiver after his presidency. The thing is, Trump had access to all of this stuff while he was president. He took all of these documents with him while he was president, like he had them all packed up while he was president and had them transported out. And then, of course, they were in his possession after he turned the presidency over to Biden. But he already had knowledge of all this. He could have read all of these things. It isn't like he was gaining access to new information he had previously never had access to before. On the contrary, he had access to all of this stuff. The USIC's mission, item 20, was to collect, analyze, and deliver foreign intelligence and counterintelligence information to America's leaders, including the president, policymakers, law enforcement, and the military, so they could make sound decisions to protect the United States. USIC consisted of United States executive branch departments and agencies responsible for the conduct of foreign relations and the protection of national security. Item 21. After his presidency, Trump retained classified documents originated by or implicating the equities of multiple USIC members and other executive branch departments and agencies, including the following. A, the Central Intelligence Agency. CIA was responsible for providing intelligence on foreign countries and global issues to the president and other policymakers to help them make national security decisions. B, the Department of Defense, DoD, was responsible for providing the military forces needed to deter war and ensure national security. So the National Security Agency, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency was a combat support agency within DoD responsible for the exploitation and analysis of imagery intelligence, and geospatial information in support of the national security objectives of the United States and the geospatial intelligence requirements of DoD, the Department of State, and other federal agencies. The National Reconnaissance Office, so this is all intelligence gathering, aerial, satellite videography, photography, the Department of Energy, the Department of State and Bureau of Intelligence and Research. Trump's public statements on classified information, item 22. As a candidate for president of the United States, Trump made the following public statements, among others, about classified documents. A, on August 18th, 2016, Trump stated, "In my administration, I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law." No doubt referring to Hillary Clinton at the time. On September 6th, 2016, Trump stated, "We also need to fight this battle by collecting intelligence and then protecting our classified secrets. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't understand the meaning of the word confidential or classified." Again, that's a Clinton thing. See, told you. On September 7th, 2016, Trump stated, "One of the first things we must do is to enforce all classification rules and to enforce all laws relating to the handling of classified information." D, on September 19th, 2016, Trump stated, "We also need the best protection of classified information." Item E, on November 3rd, 2016, Trump stated, "Service members here in North Carolina have risked their lives to acquire classified intelligence to protect our country." Item 23. As President of the United States on July 26, 2018, Trump issued the following statement about classified information. So here it is. "As the head of the executive branch and commander-in-chief, I have a unique constitutional responsibility to protect the nation's classified information, including by controlling access to it. More broadly, the issue of a former executive branch official's security clearance raises larger questions about the practice of former officials maintaining access to our nation's most sensitive secrets long after their time in government has ended. Such access is particularly inappropriate when former officials have transitioned into highly partisan positions and seek to use real or perceived access to sensitive information to validate their political attacks. Any access granted to our nation's secrets should be in furtherance of national, not personal interests." Then it goes on here about Trump's retention of classified documents after his presidency in item 24. It says that in January 2021, he was preparing to leave the White House. And then it says Trump and his White House staff, including Nauta, packed items, including some of Trump's boxes. Trump was personally involved in this process. Trump caused his boxes containing hundreds of classified documents to be transported from the White House to the Mar-a-Lago Club. Yeah, we just told you that. 25. From January through March 15th, 2021, some of Trump's boxes were stored in the Mar-a-Lago Club's white and gold ballroom, in which events and gatherings took place. Trump's boxes were for a time stacked on the ballroom stage, as depicted in the photograph below, redacted to obscure an individual's identity. So there's all the boxes that they say were stacked in the ballroom. Top secret stuff, apparently. I don't know. Item 26. We're assuming that there are documents in those boxes. In March 2021, Nauta and others moved some of Trump's boxes from the white and gold ballroom to the business center at the Mar-a-Lago Club. Item 27. On April 5th, 2021, an employee of the office of Donald J. Trump, Trump Employee 1, texted another employee of that office to ask whether Trump's boxes should be moved out of the business center to make room for staff to use it as an office. Trump Employee 2 said, whoa. Okay, so POTUS specifically asked Walt for those boxes to be in the business center because they are his papers. Later that day, Trump Employee 1 and Trump Employee 2 exchanged the following text messages. Trump Employee 2, we can definitely make it work if we move his papers into the lake room. Trump Employee 1, there is still a little room in the shower where his other stuff is. Is it only his papers he cares about? There's some other stuff in there that are not papers. Could that go to storage, or does he want everything in there on property? Trump Employee 2, yes, anything that's not the beautiful mined paper boxes can definitely go to storage. Want to take a look at the space and start moving tomorrow, a.m.? Item 28. After the text exchange between the employees in April 2021, some of Trump's boxes were moved from the business center to the bathroom and shower in the Mar-a-Lago Club's lake room, as depicted in the photograph below. Okay, there's another picture of boxes. And it goes on. So they're talking about moving these things around, and they're worried, obviously, that these employees had access to all these documents. Looks like some of them spilled out here. Item 32, in May 2021, Trump caused some of his boxes to be brought to his summer residence at the Bedminster Club, like the Mar-a-Lago Club. After Trump's presidency, the Bedminster Club was not an authorized location for the storage, possession, review, display, or discussion of classified documents. On July 21st, 2021, when he was no longer president, Trump gave an interview in his office at the Bedminster Club to a writer and publisher in connection with a then forthcoming book. 2 members of Trump's staff also attended the interview, which was recorded with Trump's knowledge and consent. Before the interview, the media had published reports that at the end of Trump's term as president, the senior military official purportedly feared that Trump might order an attack on country A, and that the senior military official advised Trump against doing so. 34. Upon greeting the writer, the publisher, and his 2 staff members, Trump stated, quote, look what I found. This was the senior military official's plan of attack. Read it and just show it's interesting. Later in the interview, he says, read it. Trump engaged in the following exchange. Trump, he says here, well, with the senior military official, let me see. They're saying senior military official. They're redacting the name. Let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack whatever the country was. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look, this was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. The writer says, wow. Trump says, we looked at some. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. Pages long. Look. Staffer says, Trump, wait a minute. Let's see here. Staffer laughs. Yeah. Trump, I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know? Staffer, Trump, except it is like highly confidential. Staffer says, yeah. Trump says, secret. This is secret information. Look at this. You attack and Trump says, by the way, isn't that incredible? Staffer says, yeah. Trump says, I was just thinking because we were talking about it. And, he said he wanted to attack whatever the country was. And what? Staffer, you did? Trump says here, this was done by the military and given to me. I think we can probably, right? Some of this doesn't even make sense. Staffer, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, or we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to Trump declassify it. Staffer, figure out yeah. Trump, see, as president, I could have declassified it. Staffer says, yeah. Trump, now I can't, but this is all still a secret. Staffer says, yeah, now we have a problem. Trump, isn't that interesting? At the time of the exchange, the indictment continues here, the writer, the publisher, and Trump's 2 staff members did not have security clearance or any need to know any classified information about a plan of attack on Country A. Item 35. In August or September of 2021, when he was no longer president, Trump met in his office at the Bedminster Club with a representative of his Political Action Committee, the PAC representative. During the meeting, Trump commented that an ongoing military operation in Country B was not going well. Trump showed the PAC representative his classified map of Country B and told the PAC representative that he should not be showing the map to the PAC representative and to not get too close. The PAC representative did not have a security clearance or any need to know classified information about the military operation. 36, item 36. On February 16th, 2017, 4 years before Trump's disclosures of classified information set forth above, Trump said at a press conference, the first thing I thought of when I heard about it is, how does the press get this information that's classified? How do they do it? You know why? Because it's an illegal process, and the press should be ashamed of themselves. But more importantly, the people that gave out the information to the press should be ashamed of themselves, really ashamed. Trump's production of 15 cardboard boxes to the National Archives and Records Administration, that's the headline here now, or subheading, heading into item 37. Beginning in May 2021, the National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, was responsible for archiving presidential records, repeatedly demanded that Trump turn over presidential records. And of course, we know that they asked him to turn them over. He, I guess, refused. Item 41, 42. On January 13th, 2022, NADA texted Trump employee 2 about Trump's tracking of boxes, stating he's tracking the boxes, more to follow today, and whether he wants to go through more today or tomorrow. Trump employee 2 replied, thank you. On January 15th, 2022, NADA sent Trump employee 2 4 successive texts. So they're still trying to get these documents. The boxes moved around. When the 15 boxes that Trump had provided reached NARA on January 2022, NARA reviewed the contents and determined that 14 of the boxes contained documents with classification markings. Specifically, as the FBI later determined, the boxes contained 197 documents with classification markings, of which 98 were marked secret, 30 were marked top secret, and the remainder were marked confidential. Some of those documents also contained SCI and SAP markings. On February 9th, 2022, NARA referred the discovery of classified documents in Trump's boxes to the Department of Justice for investigation. It goes on and on. So this is all tracking the boxes, knowing where they went. They're trying to get their hands on them. They want them to turn a lot of this stuff in. It's an ongoing process. And this kind of helps us understand where this leads to today. And that's why here in item 74, on August 8th, 2022, the FBI executed a court-authorized search warrant at the Mar-a-Lago Club, which we showed you live on the air here the night that happened. The search warrant authorized the FBI to search for and seize, among other things, all documents with classification markings. Item 75, during the execution of the warrant at the Mar-a-Lago Club, the FBI seized 102 documents with classification markings in Trump's office and the storage room as follows. Trump's office, 27 documents, 6 of them top secret, 18 secret, and 3 confidential. In the storage room, 75 documents, 11 top secret, 36 secret, and 28 confidential. So this goes on and on and on. We will come back to that in a moment. But first, let's look at I think I had it up. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, Mark Levin? I've lost them, but I will find that. Let's take another short break. I'll rest my vocal cords for just a moment and my peepers, because I'm reading small text on the screen with this indictment, and I shall return. So don't go away.
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! To bugs!
I have returned, and this was actually what I was looking for right here. This is on Truth Social tonight, and this is reaction shared on the Donald Trump Truth Social account. Yeah, Mike Davis here with his comment saying, indictment confirms Garland's indictment of Trump is political. He says Presidential Records Act, not Espionage Act, controls former president's handling of his presidential records. And two, generally legally impossible to obstruct investigation into non-crime per binding 2019 OLC memo. He continues and says the theory the president of the United States can declassify information and still get charged for espionage under national defense information will not survive Supreme Court review. And fourth, the timing of this indictment proves it's political. Garland indicted Trump the day after we learned the FBI covered up evidence since 2017. Then VP Biden and his family took at least $10 million in former bribes and changed U.S. policy. We also ran that news conference where that information about the allegations of the $10 million in foreign bribes were leveled. And then Trump here posting this. He says, Biden said he knew nothing about the indictment of his number one rival, me. This is just like his statement that he knew nothing about who his son's business partners were, which turned out to be a total lie. Here's Jack Posobiec. He says, whole case comes down to Presidential Records Act. Can't have any conspiracy, obstruction, etc. if no underlying crime. What he said doesn't matter. The boxes don't matter. Discussing moving or destruction doesn't matter. And here's Mark Levin, who is a constitutional expert. Says, moreover, the Presidential Records Act, a federal judge in 2012 held in a case involving Bill Clinton, the court has no power to retrieve documents from the former president, and the former president has extremely broad authority to retain documents. He says here as well that after all, a former president has an institutional memory about all kinds of top secret and national security information that could be passed, even accidentally in the form of a private discussion, etc. How would this even be managed? See, that's what I'm saying. He had all this information prior. That's what I just said in a different way, not as eloquently or in refined a manner as Mark Levin here, but he had all these in his possession while he was president. He knew about all this information. If he had read them all, and presumably anything that was truly important, he would not only have had access to, but he absolutely would have reviewed. So it would have been embedded in his brain anyway. So it doesn't really matter if it's in paper form in a box in his possession, or if it's just in his, logged into his brain cells. And then because he was president and is the former president, he still has broad discretion in how that information might be treated. So moving the boxes, I don't know how that plays out in U.S. law, U.S. constitutional law, or how how these laws that apply specifically to presidents and former presidents will play out here. Levin continues and says it is true that a former president is not explicitly exempted from the statute, but the history and practice over the last more than 100 years suggests it's inapplicable. This is the only instance in which it was even considered. We can continue with more of this. I do have this, we spoke about Hillary Clinton and her handling of classified information and those servers that she was not supposed to be running, those private servers with confidential emails that were in her possession. Nothing ever happened to her, and she destroyed the evidence. Her and her staff, they took hammers to them and then used that bleach bit software. And just for a little levity, we'll play this to just refresh your memory on that.
Good morning. I'm here to give you an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton. What I want to do is tell you what we're recommending. But first, let me tell you what we found. 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains are top secret, 36 of those chains secret, and 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Everything I did was admitted. There was no law, no regulations.
Secretary Clinton should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email.
None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system, not even Gmail.
But first of all, nothing was marked classified.
To the contrary,
Nothing was marked classified.
there is evidence that
Nothing
tremendous
was
amount,
marked
tremendous amount.
classified.
Now let me tell you what we
Oh
found.
my God.
110 emails.
It was not the best choice.
52 email chains
It was a mistake.
have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains are top
It wasn't
secret.
the best choice.
36 of those chains
I said
secret.
it was a mistake.
And 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it
With
make?
respect to our recommendation, this is going to be an unusual statement in at least a couple of ways. Although there is evidence, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. I know there will be intense public debate. What difference at this point does it make? 110 emails.
It wasn't the best choice.
52 email chains
I made a mistake.
have been determined to contain classified information.
What difference at this point does it make?
8 of those chains are top
It was not a
secret.
good choice.
36 of those chains
I said it was a mistake.
and 8 contain confidential information.
What difference at this point does it make?
Benghazi scandal. Nothing happened to her. Not a darn thing.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, and then Trump is also sending this out. He says boxes stored on the White House sidewalk for all to see prior to being moved down to Florida. Nothing to hide here. Witch hunt. And there you see the documents out in the open. And I don't know, about all the laws surrounding this. But let's continue with our look at this indictment now, because we have the actual document Item 76, counts 1 through 31. Item 76, the general allegations, it says, of this indictment against Donald Trump, I added that, are re-alleged and fully incorporated here by reference. Item 77, on or about the date set forth in the table below in Palm Beach County, blah, 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 having unauthorized possession of access to control over documents relating to the national defense, but did willfully retain the documents and failed to deliver them to the officer and employee of the United States entitled to receive them, that is, Trump, without authorization, retained at the Mar-a-Lago Club documents relating to the national defense, including the following. Count 1, top secret, no foreign special handling. Count 2, top secret, no foreign special handling. Count 3, same thing, top secret, SI, no foreign FISA. So it's listing all of these different counts, all the things he's been charged with, no markings, secret, relating to USA FV. Item 13, undated document concerning military capabilities of a foreign country in the United States. 14, secret Orcon no foreign document dated January 2020 concerning military options of a foreign country and potential effects on United States interests. It goes on down, 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 down. 31. So 31 in total there. Count 32, item 78. The general allegations of this indictment are realleged and fully incorporated here. The conspiracy and its objects, item 79, from, on, or about May 11th, 2022, through, in, or around August 2022 in Palm Beach County in Southern District of Florida. The defendants, Donald J. Trump and Waltine Nauta, did knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree with each other and with others known and unknown to the grand jury to engage in misleading conduct toward another person and corruptly persuade another person to withhold a record, document, and other object from an official proceeding in violation of 18 U.S.C. subsection 1512b2a, and to corruptly conceal a record, document, and other object from an official proceeding in violation of 18 U.S.C. section 1512c1. The purpose of the conspiracy, item 80, the purpose of the conspiracy was for Trump to keep classified documents he had taken with him from the White House and to hide and conceal them from a federal grand jury. The manner and means of conspiracy, subheading here in item 81, the manner and means by which the defendants sought to accomplish the objects and purpose of the conspiracy included, among other things, the following. A, suggesting that Trump attorney, one, falsely represent to the FBI and grand jury that Trump did not have documents called for by the May 11th subpoena, and B, moving boxes of the documents to conceal them from Trump attorney one, the FBI and the grand jury. C, suggesting that Trump attorney one hide or destroy documents called for by the May 11th subpoena. D, providing to the FBI and grand jury just some of the documents called for by the May 11th subpoena, while Trump claimed he was cooperating fully. E, causing a false certification to be submitted to the FBI and grand jury representing that all documents with classification markings had been produced when in fact they had not. And F, making false and misleading statements to the FBI, all in violation of Title 18, United States Section 1512K. Count 33, withholding a document or record. This is item 82. Under count 33, the general allegations of this indictment are realleged, blah, 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 from honor, blah, 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 blah. And here's the allegation. That Donald J. Trump and Waltine Nauta did knowingly engage in misleading conduct toward another person and knowingly, corruptly persuade and attempt to persuade another person with intent to cause and induce any person to withhold a record, document, and other object from an official proceeding that is, 1, Trump attempted to persuade Trump attorney 1 to hide and conceal documents from a federal grand jury, and 2, Trump and Nauta misled Trump Attorney 1 by moving boxes that contain documents with classification markings so that Trump Attorney 1 would not find the documents and produce them to a federal grand jury, all in violation of Title 18, United States Code sections 1512B, 2A, and 2. Count 34, corruptly concealing a document or record. Says here that Donald and Waltine did corruptly conceal a record, document, and other object and attempted to do so with the intent to impair the object's integrity and availability for use in an official proceeding. That is, Trump and Nauta hid and concealed boxes that contained documents with classification markings from Trump Attorney 1 so that Trump Attorney 1 would not find the documents and produce them to a federal grand jury. Blah, 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 blah. All in violation of USC Code 18. Here's the next one. That he did knowingly, with Waltine Nauta, conceal and cover up, falsify, and make a false entry in any record, document, and tangible object with the intent to impede, obstruct, and influence the investigation and proper administration of any matter within the jurisdiction of a department and agency of the United States and in relation to and contemplation of any such matter that is during a federal criminal investigation being conducted by the FBI. 1. Trump and Nauta hid, concealed, and covered up from the FBI Trump's continued possession of documents with classification markings at the Mar-a-Lago Club. And 2. Trump caused a false certification to be submitted to the FBI. All in violation of Title 18 United States Code sections 15, 19, and 2. Count 36, scheme to conceal, and here's what they say that Donald and Waltine did. In a matter within the jurisdiction of the judicial branch and executive branch of the United States government, did knowingly and willfully falsify, conceal, and cover up by any trick, scheme, and device a material fact that is, during a federal grand jury investigation and a federal criminal investigation being conducted by the FBI, Trump and Nauta, hid and concealed from the grand jury and the FBI Trump's continued possession of documents with classification markings, all in violation of Title 18 United States Code sections 1001A, 1, and 2. False statements and representations. It continues on here, and we're almost through this whole thing. In a matter within the jurisdiction of the judicial branch and executive branch of the United States government, did knowingly and willfully make and cause to be made a materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statement and representation that is, during a federal grand jury investigation and a federal criminal investigation being conducted by the FBI, Trump caused the following false statements and representations to be made to the grand jury and the FBI in a sworn certification executed by Trump Attorney 3. A diligent search was conducted of the boxes that were moved from the White House to Florida. B, this search was conducted after receipt of the subpoena in order to locate any and all documents that are responsive to the subpoena. And C, any and all responsive documents accompany this certification. So we're all the way up to item 92 here, and it says that the statements and representations are set forth above were false, and Trump knew because Trump had directed that boxes be removed from the storage room before Trump Attorney 1 conducted the June 2nd, 2022 search for documents with classification markings, so the Trump Attorney 1's search would not and did not include all of Trump's boxes that were removed from the White House. Trump Attorney 1's search would not and did not locate all documents responsive to the May 11th subpoena. And so they're saying that he hid the documents, couldn't make it impossible for the lawyer to find what they were looking for, so the lawyer didn't turn the stuff over. False statements and representations. Here it is. This is May 26th, 2022 in Palm Beach County. It says Waltine Nauta, in a matter within the jurisdiction of the executive branch of the United States government, did knowingly and willfully make a materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statement and representation that is, in a voluntary interview during a federal criminal investigation being conducted by the FBI. Nauta was asked the following questions and gave the following false answers. Question: does any or are you aware of any boxes being brought to his home, his suite? Answer: no. Question: all right. So to the best of your knowledge, you're saying that those boxes that you brought onto the track, first time you ever laid eyes on them was just the day of when Trump employee 2 needed you to. The employee says, yes, correct. Question: to take them, okay? Question: in knowing that, we're trying to track the life of these boxes and where they could have been kept and stored and all that kind of stuff. Answer: mm-hmm. Question: do you have any information that could help us understand, like where they were kept, how they were kept, were they secured, were they locked? Something that makes the intelligence community feel better about these things, you know? Answer: I wish I could tell you. I don't know. I don't. I honestly just don't know. Question: and what? So you only saw the 15 boxes, 15, 17 boxes? Answer: mm-hmm. Question: the day of the move? Even they just showed up that day? Answer: they were in Pine Hall. Trump employee 2 just asked me, hey, can we move some boxes? Question: okay. Answer: and I was like, okay. Question: so you didn't know, had no idea how they got there before? Answer: no. Item 96. And I think this gets us almost to the very end of all this. Getting very close. The understood statements and representations above were false, as Nauta knew, because one, Nauta did, in fact, know that the boxes in Pine Hall had come from the storage room, as Nauta himself, with the assistance of Trump employee 2, had moved the boxes from the storage room to Pine Hall, and 2, Nauta had observed the boxes in and moved them to various locations at the Mar-a-Lago Club, all in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 1001A2. Almost through with this whole thing, folks. A couple more pages. So you're just looking here at signatures, some of which are redacted. And United States District Court, Southern District of Florida, penalty sheet, defendant's name, Donald J. Trump, right there. You can see it on the screen. Counts 1 to 31. Willful retention of national defense information, 18 U.S.C. Code 793E. Maximum term of imprisonment, 10 years. Mandatory minimum term of imprisonment, if applicable. Not applicable. Maximum supervised release, 3 years. Maximum fine, $250,000. Count 32, conspiracy to obstruct justice. 18 U.S.C. Section 1512K. Maximum term of imprisonment, 20 years. 20 years. Mandatory minimum term, if applicable, not available. Max supervised release, 3 years. Max fine, $250,000. Withholding a document or record, 18 U.S.C. 1512B2A. Maximum term, 20 years. Mandatory minimum term of imprisonment, not available. 3 years, maximum supervised release. So he could go to jail for 20 years and then be out on parole for 3 maximum. If they threw the book at him, if they get a conviction. And the maximum fine in dollar terms, $250,000, $250,000. Corruptly concealing a document or record, maximum term, again, 20 years. Concealing a document in a federal investigation, maximum term, 20 years. Scheme to conceal, maximum term, 5 years. False statements and representations, 5 years. Waltine Nauta, also in these various charges, 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, 5 years, 5 years. And there you have it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the indictment. The indictment of Donald J. Trump. History in the making. Hoax? Real? Political theater? Don't know. Just don't know. Seems pretty serious. I would not want to be facing that. But look at what Trump has been through. They've really come after him, haven't they, from the very beginning? I know I've never seen the level of attack, the intensity of the attacks that they have come after him with. And here we go again. Timing? Yeah. He's running again, right? But is it something we just take at face value? Do they really want to lock him up? His poll numbers have never suffered as they have come after him with attack after attack after attack, whether it's the whole Russia thing. It just didn't matter. It didn't matter what they came after him on. And this, I guarantee it's not hurting his poll numbers at anything. Like the first indictment, his poll numbers went up. And after he was indicted the first time, they raised millions of dollars for his campaign. Remember during the first election run, he said he could go into the middle of the street and shoot someone and people would still vote for him? I'd believe that even now. Trump supporters are so committed that I think that they, it would take just about him shooting somebody in cold blood in a heinous act like that or something just terrible to have them decouple from their candidate. He has a very strong, loyal base. I've never seen a politician with more committed followers than Donald Trump. Not to say all of them are, but there is that core group, right? That base, the MAGA base. They're not going anywhere. And as I say, this is dangerous stuff, man. Very, very dangerous stuff because it is dividing the country in a way that we've never seen before. It's not healthy for the country. In fact, I think, if anything, that's one of the things that is turning off some voters with Trump is it's not the man himself. It's all of the controversy, the ongoing attacks against him. Some people are growing weary of it, and they just want to kind of put all of that behind. Even if it means not voting for the guy they actually want to vote for. It's not that they disagree with him or his policies. It's that they just want things to calm down. I think, honestly, that's part of where the vote for Biden came from, in whatever manner you want to view the vote. But that's where part of the support for Biden came from in the last election. That's part of it. People are like, okay, we'll just vote for you. Just stop rioting in the streets and just stop with all the lawfare and the craziness and just calm everything down. You can be president. Just stop. Call off the attack dogs. But they never did. We got Biden, and then we got the whole, the greatest threat to America is white supremacists and, domestic terrorists. And it's just, and then, it is, during his inauguration speech, it was still divisive. And then there was that speech against the blood red backdrop. It looked like something straight out of hell. And then they want us to think that Biden is this philanthropic, all caring, compassionate, father-like, omnipotent leader of the free world. And I saw the clip of him where he claimed, and I wish I'd queued it up, but he stands at the podium and says that I don't remember the exact words, but to paraphrase, I never directed the FBI. I never got involved in any of this stuff with Trump. And then he says, I'm honest. Oh, I laughed. I'm honest. You know what that reminds me of? I'll play it for you when we come back. I'll find the clip and I'll show you what it reminds me of. I think it might come back to haunt Biden in the end. Stay with me.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so here's the clip of Biden that I just mentioned where he says he's honest. Oh, he's such an honest guy. Oh, poor Joe. Yeah, he's not corrupt at all. You know, that laptop, it was all just Russian disinformation. I'm a nice guy. I'm honest. Here's what he said.
Because you notice, I have never once, not one single time, suggested to the Justice Department what they should do or not do, or else to bring a charge or not bring a charge. I'm honest.
I gotta play it again.
Because you notice, I have never once, not one single time, suggested to the Justice Department what they should do or not do, or else to bring a charge or not bring a charge.
And I'm pointing and I mean it.
Because you notice, I have never once, not one single time, suggested to the Justice Department what they should do.
That's right, and I mean it too, because I'm pointing.
Charge or not bring a charge.
Come on, man.
I'm honest.
Come on, man. I'm honest.
Because you notice,
I'm honest, man. Come on.
Once.
Come on, you guys.
One single time.
Don't you know?
Suggested
I'm honest.
Come on. Or not do, or else to bring a charge.
And that's not hyperbole.
I'm honest. Because you notice, I have never once.
Not even once. And when I'm really serious, I repeat things many times until I fall down.
Do, or else to bring a charge or not bring a charge.
Yeah.
I'm honest.
Well, there you go. That's the definitive proof right there. He's honest. Why? How do we know? Because he said so. Of course you can trust him. Of course you can. This is the guy who got the investigator looking into, all those business deals that were going on in Ukraine. He got the investigator fired. Remember all that? Yeah, he's honest. He's an honest guy. Super honest. It reminds me of this. Oh, so maybe some of you aren't old enough to remember, but I was just a little kid and I remember seeing this. This is what, I don't know. I was disturbed by this when I was young. Didn't fully understand everything because I was very young, but I remember watching it and it sticks in my brain even today. Here it is. Richard Nixon. I'm not a crook.
And I want to say this to the television audience. I made my mistakes, but in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I can say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
Those were sad days. Sad days for the United States, not just for Richard Nixon. And you can think what you want about Nixon and what happened with him, varying opinions on it. Most people just buying into what the mainstream media of the day was feeding the public. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. What did he actually do? Some people say he didn't really do anything. It's all about Watergate and the cover-up. What did he know? When did he know it? Blah, 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 blah. Woodward and Bernstein, the journalists and all of that. Maybe we'll dig into that in a little more detail in another day. But boy, when Biden said, "I'm honest," that just smacked of "I'm not a crook." To me, it was like, as soon as he says it, I'm like, why don't you just, was that just an admission of guilt in reverse? Or what? Negative admission. It's like, and when he's pointing like that, it's like, come on, man. I'm just, oh, God. These are the people who have the power to push the button, man. Come on, man. Can't we do better? How do these people end up in these positions of power? Come on, man. We all have to do better. This is insane. Totally insane. Because I'm not a crook. I'm honest. Wow. I'll be right back. When we return, we'll talk about exactly that. Finger on the button, the weapons, escalation, the new multipolar geopolitical realities that the West faces, and where it leaves all of us. Because the times, they are changing. They sure are.
Fear not the storm, for truth is on our side. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. Oh, before we move on, I will show you these things that we have here. We have these. You've been asking for them. And here we go. I have these polo shirts. I don't have any in this color. We have black. And they are embroidered. Okay. So this is embroidered. So they're quite nice. Pretty high quality. And they're quite nice. So these particular ones, any donation that comes in, $70 or more, I will send you one of these if you send me your address. One of these polo shirts with the embroidered Maverick logo right there. These ones are really nice. And very nice job on the embroidery from the guy where I go to get this kind of stuff done. I've been doing business with him for a long time, for many years, for different business kinds of things that we've done and some fundraisers and stuff in the past for some charity stuff. And nice fella. I'll just give him sort of an anonymous plug. I'm not sure if he wants me to tell people who he is or not, so I won't do that unless he gives me permission. But very nice shirts. So $70 or more in any donation tonight. I have a very limited number of them. I didn't get too many of those made, but $70 and you'll get a polo shirt shipped to you. Just email me or make the donation tonight at, if you go to the PayPal page, that's the easiest way to do it. And this will help keep us on the air, folks. I have to find the right banner to put up. Just give me one moment, please. There we go. You can donate at freedomreporters.com. That's the best place to do it. If you donate there, you can record your address, put a notation on it that you want the shirt, and I will make sure that it's shipped out to you. If you have any difficulty at all, I'll see the donation and I'll see the name. And, I can reach out to you, but you can always email me as well at, what's the email that we have up here? Yeah. rwalker@maverickmultimedia.com. rwalker@maverickmultimedia.com. But even when you make the donation through PayPal, the address is recorded. You put a note on it that you want the shirt. Put your size, the size that you want on there as well. And maybe even your phone number, because then I can call you if I need to in order to make sure that you get this thing. And, I'm always here every night too. So you can always get a hold of me one way or another, sort of by coming on the show here, or you can go to our website at mavericknews.ca. mavericknews.ca. And there are ways to email me right through there through our website. So that's online all the time too. Now, the other way you can donate, now you could, again, $70 at this other location as well. We'll get you a polo shirt, nice polo shirt with the embroidery, $70 or more in a donation. And I will send you the free shirt. It's a donation. The shirt is a promo item that I'm sending out, but the donation, $70 or more, maverickdonations.com. That's the Give, Send, Go donation page. That'll help us cover the expenses here on the show, the phone system, the hardware, the software, the computers, the subscription packages, the video editing software, some of which we pay a monthly subscription for, the graphics editing programs that we pay for, the Adobe suite, all of the things that we need to keep this whole program on the air, not to mention, the miscellaneous other expenses that come along that a lot of people are not even aware of that we incur as a result of putting this on the air every single night. There is an expense. I mean, it's just the reality of it. And it's surprising how you get kind of different things that you have to pay for along the way, not to mention even cybersecurity to make sure that our social media accounts and our websites are secure from hacking. And we've had some problems with that over the last year or so. So, if you've been watching on a regular basis, you know what I'm talking about. freedomreporters.com. That's the place to donate. And we'll send you a polo shirt. Now, let's move on, shall we? Oh, also, make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook, please share. I have to mention, too, that at least one person mentioned last night in a message to me that it looked like they had been kicked off Facebook. They were not kicked out of the chat. They were not kicked out. What happened was this nuisance copyright thing cropped up again. And this business entity, individual, and I have my suspicions about why it's happening, but regardless, they keep hitting the Facebook accounts with copyright claims. I know exactly the content they're going after. The content is not theirs. I have filed one dispute and won it. I won the dispute, but they're doing it with multiple videos. And last night, while we were live, they came after it with an automated system and hit the show with a copyright strike midstream again and got the show blocked worldwide on Facebook. Not proper, totally inappropriate, not even legal, because they do not own the copyright on the material that they are identifying in the copyright attack. And I have proven it. I've shown them the terms. I've shown them the ownership of the content legally. I've filed another dispute, but by the time they get that back up and the dispute is resolved, it will be probably a week or two, at which point this is a news-based program and the content is then history. It's not news anymore. So it becomes somewhat irrelevant. The other problem is there were people in there who it looked like they thought that I was banning them from Facebook. Wasn't me. It's that the whole show was blocked. So they then lost access to the chat in the Facebook thing. Okay. So we're getting hammered over there hard. They have gone after now, out of all the video, every video that we've done over the past, well, since resurrecting this news channel, they've been going after it systematically every single day. And I get a list of videos that have been posted over the past almost 2 years now that they have filed these nuisance copyright strikes against, and they take them down. So I have to systematically go through and dispute every single one of them in order to get the archived material kept online. So that's what's going on, folks. If you were booted off Facebook, please, I apologize that you're experiencing that, but it is not me. It is not any of our moderators. It's nothing like that. It was this nuisance person or entity or company, and I've got the name, who shall remain nameless here on the air, but like they've probably gone after now about 150 of our videos to have them taken down successfully. They do it automatically right away. But I'll tell you, I'm not done with this. I'm not done. I will fight back. I'll push back on this copyright nuisance strike thing. This is completely wrong. It's inappropriate. And if it persists, if it continues, because it's affecting the channel, it's affecting your experience here, it's an assault on our free speech, our freedom of media. It's an assault on what we're doing here. And the people perpetrating this obviously do not believe in freedom, because they have no right to do this whatsoever. This is frivolous. They do not own the content, but they're filing the copyright strikes anyway. And because of the way the system works on Facebook, takes down the content immediately. They give the benefit of the doubt to the claimant, not to the defendant, us. Even though the material they're targeting is a snippet only 30 seconds long. So out of a 3-hour plus broadcast in most cases, or show or video, that 30-second thing, they target that and they take the whole thing down. I'm not done. I'm not done, because it's just not right. So I'll do what I have to do to defend the channel and defend our integrity and defend our legal right to use the material that we have lawful access to. And I'm sorry that you guys, some of you had a negative experience last night. Please just don't blame me. Don't blame the moderators in this case. It's not us. It's not Maverick. It's not the Maverick team. Nobody in the Maverick family did this to anybody. Okay, just so you understand, I'm sorry. But I'm doing my best to rectify it so it doesn't happen anymore. I'm changing up some of the content so they can't hit it. And I'm also looking at other avenues to neutralize this ongoing threat to the channel. And speaking of threats, Iran has now emerged as a bigger threat than ever to, in the view of some anyway, to Israel, to the United States, to the West, because they now have enhanced defensive capabilities in the form of hypersonic missiles. Let me find what I was looking for here. I had it all queued up. So many tabs open, though. There it is. I've got that. So Iran says it has hypersonic missiles. Of course, Israel very concerned about this. They claim that it is produced domestically. And they're saying that it can hit Israel now within 400 seconds using this technology and these missiles. This was actually announced a few days ago. This is something that I really hadn't had time to look at in any kind of detail. I certainly wanted to make mention of it tonight. Iranian president, the president of Iran, was at the unveiling of this missile named Fatah, or Conqueror in Farsi. It is claimed to have a range of 870 miles or 1,400 kilometers and can travel, get this, at 15 times the speed of sound to bypass air defense systems. Now, we've seen Russia with this technology. They've used it in Ukraine. The Americans and the Ukrainians claim that those Patriot battery anti-missile systems that they employ, they claim to have shot down one of Russia's hypersonic missiles. I don't know if that's true or if it isn't. I'm not exactly sure how they were able to do that, if that is true, given the speed at which these hypersonic missiles fly, which is at least at the speed of Mach 5, 5 times the speed of sound. The United States does not have this technology. Now, we know that there are concerns about Iran acquiring nuclear weapons. You combine the nuclear weapons with those hypersonic missiles, and you have a very, very, very potent, serious adversary on your hands. And you already do now, especially given that they can produce this kind of technology and use it, even if if they're armed with conventional warheads. It's interesting, because in the West, Iran is kind of dismissed by the mainstream media and by, bureaucrats and politicians as sort of a backward type country, unable to produce any kind of useful technology, sort of behind the times. That's the way they're portrayed. And yet here we are. Iran, even with all these sanctions imposed upon it, has been able to harness this technology, develop it for their own use, and produce these missiles domestically. Iran said back in November it was on the way to building a hypersonic ballistic missile that could maneuver in and out of the atmosphere, saying it can bypass the most advanced anti-ballistic missile systems of the United States and Israel's Iron Dome. That's what they said on Iran state TV at the time. And that was repeated during a presentation where the first missile was unveiled. They go on and they said that, quote, "This missile power means that the region will be safe from evildoers and foreign aggression." He said, so its message to the people of the region is a message of security, and its message to those who are thinking of attacking Iran is that the Islamic Republic is a powerful country, and its power aims to support the people of Iran and the oppressed people of the world. The commander of the aerospace force of Iran's Revolutionary Guards also went on during the presentation and called the Fatah a missile that is unique in the world. He says Iran has not described any actual launch of the missile. Sorry, that they haven't actually. I'm just reading some of the notes here, and no indication that they've actually launched one yet is what they're saying. I do have the actual presentation queued up for you, or part of it anyway, for you to see. Here we go. Let me get it queued. This is what it looked like earlier this week. going to block the music there. But you can see it, big light smoke show, glamorizing these things as any military industrial complex from any country would and does. So I don't know. It looks like a launch to me, or at least a simulated launch, probably animation. And they were off to the races with their presentation. So that's a visual representation of what we're talking about here. Changes the geopolitical landscape, doesn't it? It changes the balance of power dramatically. That's the thing about technology. Don't get too cocky with it, because you may be out in front for a while, like the United States was when they developed the first atomic bomb, used it twice in Japan. Yeah, they were the only country that had it for a while, and they sent a very clear message to Russia, didn't they? We're the big guns in town now. Don't mess with us. And they kind of sent that message all the way around the world. But it didn't take long for Russia to acquire the bomb. And then other countries eventually followed. Iran isn't far from behind. We have quite a number of countries that have nuclear weapons now. And in some respects, it looks like the United States might actually be falling behind. And is it any wonder when you look at the incompetence in Washington? The silliness, the incredible stupidity of the politicians. They just, oh my God, sometimes I listen to them, and it's like that in many countries. But our fate rests with them. Wow. But we're facing an entirely different reality now. The West is clearly in a state of decline. Trump is right about that. The United States is a country in decline. And in many respects, the neoliberal wokeism that has embraced the country has politicians on that side managing that decline intentionally. It defies logic to me. However, that is the reality. And let's take another brief break. And when we come back, we've got more stuff. Don't go away.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, also this week, the World Health Organization outlined its new digital health strategy. Basically, what we're talking about here is digital health ID and passports, folks. That's really what it is. Here's Dr. Tedros. Didn't get a chance to really talk about it earlier this week, but some of you may already be aware of this, but it's absolutely worth listening. Let's pick it up right here.
Roberto Viola, who could unfortunately not be with us today. The COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the value of digital health solutions in facilitating access to health services. While the emergency phase of the COVID-19 pandemic is now over, investments in digital infrastructure remain an important resource for health systems and for economies and societies at large.
So they, here you are, the World Health Organization, and they're all in on this idea right now of using digital technology for tracking purposes, tracking records, tracking, I think, even movement of people in some situations. And it's not just about, he mentions it right there, not just about healthcare, it's about economics as well, control.
Like many countries, the European Union made significant investments in COVID-19 certificates to help people move around as safely as possible during.
Did you pick up on that? He's like, they made significant investments in digital technology to help people move around during the pandemic. To help people move around. Yeah, because they wanted to help you move around during the lockdowns. I'm honest. I'm not a crook. Oh, if it wasn't, I shouldn't even be laughing.
The pandemic. The European Union certification system was used by all 27 EU member states and more than 50 other countries. Building on the success of the.
How do you get that kind of compliance and cooperation? That's a lot of countries doing things in exactly the same way, all in lockstep, marching to the beat of the same drummer, enacting exactly the same policies, using exactly the same kind of technology, all at the same time, rolling it all out, all in, all under the direction of the World Health Organization.
The EU system, WHO is proud today to launch the Global Digital Health Certification Network. So thank you so.
And now we've got this whole network and a whole certification process for it. So everybody can get on board. And we already went over that document the other night and showed you that, depending on how you interpret it, all of these measures are really going to give unprecedented power over all WHO member countries. It's going to allow them to really control and dictate what any response to any future pandemic might be. And of course, they always do this in the name of safety. Safety, 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 health and safety. They're just going to keep you safe. Well, take it for what it's worth. Take it any way you want. This is the stuff here that we need to be focused on. This is the stuff I think that we need to worry about, because we've seen, I mean, if you value freedom of movement, anonymity, privacy, especially medical privacy, then this is the kind of thing that, I think we need to make our politicians aware of in a way that shows them we are very concerned. And please do not adopt this. Keep in mind that any government that is elected in Canada or the United States has the power to just sever ties with all of this. It's only binding if the government of the day passes domestic laws that connect our system directly to these WHO, World Health Organization, initiatives. But at any time, any government can just say, no, we don't want to do it anymore, and cut ties. In fact, we saw Donald Trump try to do exactly that, didn't we? He was well on his way to getting that accomplished. And then the process kind of got sidelined because he wasn't president anymore. But it can quite easily happen. You just need a government to say, no, we don't want to do this with you anymore. Unfortunately, the governments that we have in power subscribe to a lot of this. So, and maybe really Trudeau is all in on it. Absolutely 100% all in on all of this stuff. We've seen that. He's the poster child for all of these World Health Organization efforts, World Economic Forum efforts. You know, he says Canada is the world's first post-national state. Anyway, something to keep our eyes on. It isn't all a done deal yet. Not even close yet, but they're working on it. And they've got the plan laid out. And make no mistake, the member countries of the World Health Organization, they'll do this. They will do it. Now, don't panic. Don't lose your brains. Keep on thinking. There's still time. We can push back against this in peaceful, political, legal ways. Just got to hold some people's feet to the fire, change some minds, and win some hearts. That's what Pierre Poilievre was doing today in Toronto when he was pointing out the economic crisis that is looming in the West for Western countries. Of course, Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, he was specifically there talking today about the housing market in Canada. And I have to say, I found his comments today to be in contrast to and really contradicts this whole 15-minute city idea. Because Pierre Poilievre today repeated something that he's been talking about for a long time, and that is that he wants a lot more houses built. Houses, like single-family units, suburbs, build, baby, build. That doesn't really mesh with the 15-minute city thing. You can, again, make of it what you will. I have Pierre Poilievre ready to go here so you can hear some of what he had to say about this today. And he didn't mention 15-minute cities specifically, and I'm not surprised because he was talking about inflation, the inflationary budget, the deficit budget that the Trudeau government just passed with the support of the New Democratic Party. He's talking about the doubling of housing prices, the rising cost of everything, rising interest rates, how this is a recipe for a housing market bubble collapse, which could trigger a huge economic crisis in Canada. And he's saying Canada is in just about the worst position of all of like the major economic powers in the world, basically the G7 countries, at the biggest risk of having this kind of economic collapse happen. Let's bring him up, and I'll show you what he had to say today. And here he is, Pierre Poilievre.
Where the house prices have been the most insane after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. We need to avoid this meltdown. And that's why I will balance the budget to bring down inflation and interest rates to save Torontonians from a massive financial crisis that is right in front of us over the next several years. But secondly, we need more homes. After 8 years of Trudeau, we have the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have the most land to build on. It's crazy. The Americans have 10 times the people to house on a smaller land mass, and yet their house prices are roughly half of ours. They have more houses per capita than we do. Why don't we have more houses? Well, because Justin Trudeau's gatekeepers over there in City Hall have been blocking home building. Local government gatekeepers block permits, delay construction, wrap projects in red tape, and prevent builders from putting roof over head. In Toronto, roughly $300,000 of the cost of a new home is just permitting, zoning, taxes, development charges. In Vancouver, it's up to $600,000. So I'm here with a very clear message. Justin Trudeau's policy of giving billions of dollars to local government gatekeepers who block housing construction is over. And let me make this message clear to mayoral candidates. When I'm prime minister, unlike Trudeau, I'm not going to give you money to block housing construction. I'm going to require big cities increase home building permits by 15% per year, or they will lose some of their federal infrastructure funds. Those that speed up and lower the cost of permits and free up land will get a building bonus. The more you build, the more federal money you will get. I will reward the builders and I will fire the gatekeepers. I will require every federally funded transit station be pre-permitted for high-density apartments all around so that our young people and seniors don't even need to own a car. They can live right next to transit. And I will sell off 6,000 federal buildings. Big, ugly, empty buildings will be sold off and turned into beautiful housing for our young people right across this country. We need to get rid of the gatekeepers. We need to balance the budget to bring down inflation and interest rates. We need to bring homes Canadians can afford. It's common sense, the common sense of the common people united for our common home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home. Thank you. I welcome your
There's his
questions.
campaign slogan.
Yes, sir.
So now that the Toronto mayoral election has been going on for a couple of months now, has there been any candidates that have caught your eye and would be perhaps good for Toronto in your view?
Well, what I would say to that is I'm not going to name a particular name, but I would say to Torontonians, vote for someone who will fire the City Hall gatekeepers so that we can speed up housing construction. The exclusionary policies of the gatekeepers at City Hall, who Trudeau has been funding, are driving our immigrants, our working class, and our working poor into the streets. So vote for someone who will allow us to build millions and millions of homes so that Canadians can put a roof over the head. And I'm making it clear to all the mayoral candidates that I'm not going to do what Trudeau does and give you billions of dollars to block home building. I'm going to require cities build more homes or they're going to lose federal infrastructure money. The more they build, the more money they will get. Fire the gatekeepers, bring homes Canadians can afford. Anyone else? Yes.
I'm from CBC News Tessa. Would you be able to answer the question both in English and French?
Yes, I will.
The victims, Paul Bernardo's victims' families weren't enough
We'll stick on this for just a second because we touched on this issue just the other night.
Should there be a legislative change
Serial
so that
killer Paul
that
Bernardo
way,
being
criminals,
transferred to
privacy
medium
rights to
security
notify the
facility?
victim ahead of time that criminals are getting transferred from high to medium security facilities?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. But more important than that, I would reframe the question, because I would never allow mass murderers to be moved from maximum to medium security. And Justin Trudeau has the power to tell his public safety minister to issue an order that all mass murderers must serve their entire sentences in a maximum security prison. And I'm calling on Trudeau to direct his minister to do that. It is unacceptable that someone who's done a mass murder should be allowed to go to a medium security prison under any circumstances. So I guess in a sense, I would answer your question differently. I don't think families should ever have to be notified that a mass murderer is being moved to medium security, because they never should, it never should happen. And I think it is outrageous that Justin Trudeau is allowing this monster to have the privilege of going to medium security instead of staying in a maximum security where he should rot until he leaves in a coffin. Donc, oui, la famille aurait dû être informée, mais plutôt que ça, moi, je pense que Justin Trudeau devrait utiliser le pouvoir qu'il a pour désigner tous les meurtriers.
Okay, so enough of that. So interesting to listen to his comments. He did talk about getting, fast tracking construction of not only single family homes, but also apartment units in high density areas in downtown areas close to public transit, so that people like my daughter, for instance, who lives in downtown Toronto, so they don't need to own a car. And my daughter certainly does not in downtown Toronto. It's hassle driving around down there. It sucks. Just the way planning over many decades has gone, and you get high density in there. So I suppose if you're looking for Pierre Poilievre's collusion on the 15-minute city idea, I guess maybe you'd find it there. I'm not sure that sounds, his what he's talking about to me doesn't sound like he's planning on putting everyone in 15-minute cities, though. I certainly understand the concept as it relates to urban planning in highly densely populated areas in big cities like Toronto or Calgary or New York or Los Angeles. They make neighborhoods where people basically can get around on bicycles or on foot. And they want to limit the use of cars in those areas. And I mean, there's no question they do want to reduce automobile ownership dramatically. I think, what was the number? Was it John Kerry was talking about that? Was it him this week? I can't remember exactly. But by 2050, I think they want to reduce like by 60, 70% automobile ownership or something like that. But everything with government is contradictory anyway. It always is, because it's like I've said before, they put their foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. So while they talk about that, they also turn around and invest billions and trillions of dollars in grants for automotive companies and assembly facilities and battery manufacturing plants to produce automobiles for consumers, electric vehicles that they plan to do what? Sell them to people. So how can you produce the vehicles and sell them to the people if you don't plan on having them own them and drive them? And if they cut production that much between now and 2050, those plants can't survive. So the whole plan will fall apart. It's not economically viable. None of that makes any sense whatsoever. And if they're planning on locking everybody into 15-minute cities, like literally locking people down so that, as some people are afraid, so that you're not allowed to leave, you're going to be in a prison. I don't believe that, by the way. But if they want to lock you down and keep you in prison, why are they spending $1 billion to expand the Gardiner Expressway over the next few years in Toronto? Why are we seeing more initiatives to build roads and infrastructure that way? If you build a road, you expect people to drive on them? I know that a lot of it doesn't make sense and it's contradictory, but you see that with government programs of all kinds as it relates to the auto industry. You've seen it all through history. You see it right now, where on the one hand, they say, oh, climate change is destroying everything and we need to stop people from driving their cars and their trucks. So we'll tax these trucks so that nobody can afford to buy them. And then they turn around and subsidize truck production in Oshawa or at any assembly facility. So they subsidize the production of the product and then penalize people to buy it, and then give people also tax breaks on the other hand so that they can buy them. It's like one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake at the same time. None of it seems to make any sense. If they would just pick one way or the other, you'd achieve a much better result. But it's like they shoot themselves in the foot and then they try to run the marathon. I don't think I'll ever understand the stupidity that comes with government. That being said, draw your own conclusions from what you're hearing. But here's Pierre Poilievre talking about how he wants to get government out of the way, reduce or eliminate a lot of the regulations that impede the construction of new homes, get, all those bureaucrats out of the way, all those inspectors, or a lot of them, right? Zoning permits, building permits, get a lot of this stuff sort of pre-approved so that construction can start right away to address the housing shortage. And that includes single-family units, single-family homes in suburbs, just like we have now. They also have I don't know, man. If they were going to lock everybody and imprison us in 15-minute cities, what are they going to do? Bulldoze all these houses? No. Why are they building all these houses in my suburb right here in town? Why are the banks still giving out 20 and 30-year mortgages if people aren't going to be allowed to live in a house? If they're going to put us in a shoebox and force us to, none of it makes sense, man. I know that the plan is sort of out there, But I think we just need to kind of keep this stuff in perspective and listen to the politicians, and I guess try to vote for whoever it is that seems to make the most sense. So you either kind of believe what he's saying or you don't. If you think that he's just lying and about building houses and he's really planning on imprisoning everyone and preventing you from going anywhere, I don't know. But all these wildfires and things like that, I mean, this seems to be taking us back a little bit, doesn't it? Talking about masks again, canceling things, keeping people indoors, all the same kind of measures that we saw over the last 3 years. It's like, I think some of these people calling for these measures are in their glory today and tonight. Here's just you just scroll through Twitter, you can kind of get a handle on what's going on with this. So here today, 200 plus South African firefighters landed in Edmonton to assist to fight the raging wildfires. And this is in New York. And this is footage taken, I guess, by a Canadian firefighter. So it says here, the hotshot wake up. I've not read this, but I'm just interested in what this is saying. He says, I know you may know, but people need to know and understand that most Canadian wildfire management agencies have a fire zonation policy similar to Alaska. This means in large areas of their jurisdiction, especially in the northern part of the country, wildfires are left to run their natural course with little or no direct action or suppression. Will protect values at risk, that is infrastructure, communities, critical habitat, or culturally significant features on the landscape. We'll map them and maybe try to burn them to natural barrier, fight one flank and let the rest roll, limited action, but we are not putting them out. On many of the fires, we don't even, I don't know. Not sure what to make of this post. I don't know. A lot of speculation and a lot of people saying a lot of things, making a lot of claims, a lot of theories. I reserve judgment on everything. I'm waiting for facts. It's obviously a bad situation. And it's obviously dangerous. So there's a little look at a little taste of what's going on the wildfire front tonight. Efforts to extinguish those fires continue. And I'm not sure how much stock I put into that tweet that, oh, they're not even trying to put them out. And then we see all these additional firefighters coming in from other countries, 200 from South Africa. I mean, which way is it? I would imagine in some cases they may choose to let a fire burn itself out. I don't know. It would depend on the circumstances, I suppose, wouldn't it? Let's see. What do we have here? I think I had the take of the Alberta wildfire status dashboard tonight and see where we're at. Remember, it was only about, what, a week and a half ago or so, we were at 109 fires in Alberta. And of course, Alberta is not the only province, but that's where a lot of the attention was focused in the beginning. So from about 109, 110 down to 72 now. And the big red ones are the ones considered out of control: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So about 4 less, I think, than last night considered out of control. And I think that's 1 less total or 2 less total than we had yesterday. So maybe making a little more progress. And then I was speaking to some people today. We're sort of a little further north from me in Ontario and up toward the Ottawa, Kingston area. And you saw there in that video with Pierre Poilievre, there was some rain there. So that's going to be very helpful in, bringing some of these fires under control. Rain is a critical thing. And in some areas, it seems they did get some precipitation today. So cross your fingers, folks, and hope that we get more rain in the days ahead. Now, we know that election out in Alberta just took place, and the United Conservative Party of Alberta, under the leadership of Danielle Smith, emerged victorious. They are forming a government. Today, they swore in the cabinet. We have video of that when we come back, right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, yeah, and again, if you donate $70 or more tonight, send you a polo shirt with the embroidered, oops, wrong side, logo on it, black. A black polo shirt. They're pretty nice. Gonna keep one for myself, honestly. So let's go out to Alberta. We'll pick this up where Danielle Smith's United Conservative Party swore in their cabinet today. Here we go. We'll just dip into a little bit of this
With
coverage.
the Great Seal of Alberta for safekeeping.
I accept your honor.
And that's the end of the swearing in of the cabinet. And the premier will stand and speak. Danielle Smith.
Honorable Danielle Smith, Premier of the Province of Alberta, will now bring remarks. Premier.
Let's hear what she has to say. Hard-fought battle.
Well, Your Honor, newly sworn-in ministers, honored guests, we are at a momentous point in Alberta's history. Today marks the start of an exciting future, one that will unfold over the next 4 years. This new cabinet is ready and willing to roll up its sleeves to take clear and decisive action to achieve our promises and commitments to Albertans. Working as a team, we will govern for everyone in the province. We will build on a solid foundation of stability, informed decision-making, and good governance. And we will do our best for the people of this province, always and everywhere. Over the next 4 years, we will improve on the affordability measures we already have in place, such as fuel tax relief and electricity and natural gas rebates, to help families keep more of their money in their wallets and pay for their daily expenses in the face of rising inflation. We'll continue to diversify and expand Alberta's economy with a powerful job growth and diversification strategy. This strategy will build on Alberta's existing strengths and set the province up for long-term success and prosperity for all Albertans. Key to our economic success will be not only maintaining Alberta's tax advantages, but going even further to lock in the lowest overall tax rates in Canada. That means cutting personal income taxes to ensure that Albertans keep more of their hard-earned dollars in their pockets. It will also mean ensuring that Albertans have a direct say on any future personal and business taxation changes. Bill 1 of our new government will slam the door on personal and corporate tax increases and a sales tax unless Albertans say otherwise in a referendum. We will also continue to build partnerships and agreements with the Indigenous peoples of our province so they can more fully realize their goals and take their rightful place in Alberta's economy and society. And most of all, we will vigorously and firmly defend our province from disastrous federal policies that would devastate tens of thousands of hardworking families. On healthcare, we will keep our promises to shorten wait times, improve primary care, on mental health supports, all without asking Albertans to pay to see a family doctor. We will also help those who are suffering from addiction heal through a nation-leading focus on a recovery-oriented system of care. There's a crisis on our streets, and we will move quickly to address mental health and addiction issues that endanger the safety of the public. And we will make our streets safer through a Safe Streets Action Plan to help restore security for cities, communities, and families. Through all of our priorities, we will work closely with our valued partners, doctors, nurses, patients, teachers, parents, students, business leaders, and innovators to ensure Alberta's healthcare, education, and support systems are the best in the world. Albertans believe in our promises, and they gave us a mandate to make them happen. And there's a lot of work ahead of us, and that's why I'm so pleased that we have the right team to do the work. Our new cabinet is ready to go, but we won't and we can't do it alone. We will never stop listening to all Albertans, even those who didn't vote for us. I invite everyone to work with us. We are partners in your success. Tell us what you think and what you expect. Let us know when we fall short, and help us to make better decisions when we do. Albertans are caring and resilient. We step up when called upon to help our neighbors, as seen again this spring through the devastating wildfires. We love this beautiful province and the people who live here. We treasure the diversity that make this a home to be proud of, and we welcome any potential to do what is best for our families and realize our potential. And I pledge myself as Premier to lead the cabinet just sworn in to ensure a stronger, safer, more prosperous province that Albertans deserve today and that we want our children and grandchildren to inherit tomorrow. And may our province forever remain strong and free. Thank you.
Okay, that's Danielle Smith, Premier of Alberta, now, actually elected. When she won the leadership, she assumed the role of Premier, but had not actually, had her government elected with her at the helm. Now that's actually happened. When Jason Kenney, as the Premier, stepped aside, they had a leadership race. She became leader of the party, then became Premier because she was the leader. She took over that way, but now the election, I think, gives her a very clear mandate to proceed with her agenda, which is everything she just talked about right there. We'll see how she does. The election, I think, revealed a few things. Most important is that the NDP, on sort of the neoliberal side, still very strong out there. They were certainly a strong second could have gone either way, I think. And it also reveals that these smaller parties like the Independence Party and the Solidarity Party have a lot of work ahead of them. They did not get any MLAs elected in the provincial election. And I can tell you this, I spoke today with Pastor Artur Pavlovsky, who was the former leader of the Independence Party, kicked out of that, then started the Solidarity Party in short order, fielded, how many candidates was it? About enough to field about candidates in about half the ridings across the province in very short period of time, but did not get any elected. So I was on the phone with Pastor Art today, and he's going to be on this show next Monday. And I'm looking forward to that interview very, very much. I have a lot of questions to ask him about the party, where he expects to take it, talk about all of the arrests that he has endured, what happened to him while he was incarcerated. I'm still confused about why the authorities, his political opponents, the cops, even at municipal levels, why they continue to target him. So I told him, I'd like to talk to him about that, and we'll maybe get some clarification on that. And we might have another guest at the same time from the party join us that night too. So it'll be a very interesting conversation, I think. And it will be exploring the whole idea too of the way Alberta is treated in the context of Canada as a country, and how the federal government currently treats Alberta and energy and all of these different issues, and certainly the issues surrounding questions like provincial sovereignty and maybe even the separatist movement that is still alive and well, not only in Alberta, but certainly in Quebec as well. It's going to be a great interview. You are not going to want to miss it. That is next Monday. Really looking forward to doing that interview with Pastor Artur Pavlovsky. Don't go away. When we come back, we're going to talk about attacks by media on the media. One media group attacking another media group. I'll explain when we return. Do not go away.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, so I came across, there's all this transgender, anti-drag queen, story time protests, blah, 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 all that stuff. It's like almost daily. It's like in the news, right? It's just like it's the wedge issue that has been inserted into the political discourse, and it's polarizing people. It's just, wow. Anyway, that documentary film, whatever you want to call it, from the Daily Wire and Matt Walsh, What is a Woman? That was one of the things I think that really kind of kicked off a lot of the conflict, and the attention focused a lot of attention on the issue and got people talking about it, sort of when this issue started to become, come front and center in a more major way. Well, a thing that kind of came across to my feed today was this video that I'm about to show you. And this is of, let me just, Nandini Jammy is this lady's name. And, I'll run the video, and you can, assess it for what it is. And then I'm going to dig into this a little bit deeper to give you some context that I think you'll find helpful. She attacks Matt Walsh and the Daily Wire and the way they went about producing that documentary.
Question for you. How would you feel if I invited you to be on my documentary? But I invite you using a fake name. I've made up a fictional organization. I lie to you about the premise of the film. I lie to you about who's producing it. I don't tell you that I plan to use the film to mock you, that it will incite harassment and death threats against you. Let's talk about What is a Woman, a documentary produced by Matt Walsh and his team at the Daily Wire. What is a Woman? To be honest, it's just a movie version of the things you usually see on Daily Wire's website. It's just a lot of gender ideology movement and like misgendering. That's all just table stakes with these people, so let's just leave that aside. What you do need to know about this movie is that the Daily Wire and its employees created this elaborate ruse of fake names and fake organizations to trick people into being in the film. We're not talking like, oh, they exaggerated or lied by omission. No, they fully made shit up. I know this because my college professor contacted me recently to let me know he's in the film without his consent. Sure, he agreed to be in a film, but not this one. He shared the emails with me and now I'm making them public for the first time. Let's look at a Daily Wire interview request. My professor didn't hear from the Daily Wire. He heard from a woman named Rebecca Dobkovitz. She contacted him about an independent documentary about transgender and LGBTQ communities. When she asked for a funding source, she said they're being funded by a benevolent source that would like to remain anonymous. The professor says that when he arrived to do the interview, they hid Matt Walsh from him until the interview started. That way they could still capture some footage just in case he recognized Matt. The key thing here is that my professor revoked consent in writing once he found out what this film was really about, but they just ignored his emails. All of this, by the way, squares with what a trans activist named Eli Ehrlich shared with the public last year. Last February, Eli said that she was contacted by someone named McKenna Lynn from the Gender Unity Project. McKenna represented herself as a curious and well-heeled grad student who was self-funding her own documentary about the LGBT community. But Eli did some digging and learned that McKenna Lynn was really McKenna Waters, a producer for Matt Walsh. She also learned that they didn't just make a website for their fake organization, they actually registered it as a real LLC. That LLC is registered to Justin Folk, the director of What is a Woman. Daily Wire hasn't shut the fuck up about this documentary since they launched it last year. But this they never mentioned.
Well, okay, so first up, I don't like to deceive people. I'm not sure if what she's saying is properly in context. If they actually formed a company and it was a limited liability corporation and they had an actual name and they presented themselves as being associated with that company, then that's not misrepresentation. It may be attached to the Daily Wire, but I don't know what the legalities are, like the actual legalities or how these companies were structured or what the financial situation was when they were producing that documentary. So I'm not sure if what she's saying is entirely honest. But this is clearly kind of a hit piece on Matt Walsh in the Daily Wire. Now, I can say that, I think it's proper practice, generally speaking, to represent yourself properly when you ask for an interview. This speaks to a much larger problem within journalism and even what we consider to be our free and democratic society right now, because people, when approached for interviews, are always very skeptical now, and they're leery about talking to people. And this just lends itself to more of that political polarization that I'm talking about. You now have people who are assessing whether they're going to talk to a journalist based on whether they think that the journalist is going to be friendly to their cause or not. And if they think that the journalist is friendly, yes. And if they think that the journalist might be, aggressive or hostile, then they'll say no. And I think if a journalist appears to be even neutral in some way, they just treat them as though they're hostile. It's a very unfortunate situation because it really limits our ability to understand each other as people by sharing ideas and exploring issues and dealing with important news stories up front. If you have a journalist who's actually doing their job properly, they treat anybody coming in for an interview in a fair manner. They may ask some very tough questions, but you do try to want to treat people fairly, right? I always try to. And you may show bias, but you try to treat people fairly. I can't know. There's no way for me to know for sure at this point exactly how deceptive or not deceptive Matt Walsh and the people at the Daily Wire or this separate company were or weren't as they produced this documentary. I can certainly understand why they might have done something to sort of cloak the ultimate destination of this production, where they may have created a legitimate company. a real company and then pushed forward their identity through the use of that company name so that it appears to be neutral, because they knew that if they didn't do that, the majority of these people would never agree to speak to them. There are other ways around that without misrepresenting yourself. I mean, you could wait for someone to come out onto a public street and then just walk up to them with a camera rolling in a public place, and with every legal right, just start to ask them questions. That's another way to approach it. But they wanted to control the production environment, I guess. So they set up these interviews and put people into these situations where Matt Walsh could come in and ask them questions. I can't speak specifically to the ethics with regard to this, because I'm not sure that I entirely trust what this lady is saying either. And in fact, I'm kind of skeptical. So I just took a few minutes today to just look at what she is all about. And I think that's warranted, given that she's leveling these kinds of accusations at the Daily Wire and Matt Walsh, and taking aim at this incredibly successful viral documentary, because it has gone viral, let's face it. Huge, huge numbers it has generated. So I just scrolled down through her Twitter. And if you start to look at this, she is actually, part of a group that targets conservative media outlets. So she is definitely woke, if you want to call it that, right? And first, right up here, pinned tweet from Nandini Jammy. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. And I'm trying to treat her fairly as well. There's a story by NPR. Again, I would say a left-wing woke media organization. They did a story on her. It says here, 5 years ago, I co-founded the campaign to make Breitbart unprofitable. They lost 90% of their ad revenue in 3 months. Today, we're launching the campaign to take on Fox News, and we know exactly how to get the job done. And then it's CC at Media Gazer. So she's a anti-conservative media activist. I don't know that I like that, because what she's doing is she's showing she doesn't really believe in free speech. She wants to shut down and shut up media organizations that she does not agree with, whether it's misinformation, disinformation, conspiracy theories, or just crazy talk. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't like people who lie. I don't like journalists who make things up. I don't like social media influencers who make things up. I don't like politicians who lie either. But I'll always defend someone's right to free speech. I remember in Canada, when the Sun News Network, which was born out of the Sun newspaper and then became a television network in Canada, and it was sort of like described by many as Fox News North. And they could not get distribution on cable systems to the level that they needed to make the network viable financially. And as a result, because they were denied access, Sun News Network died a quick, painful death. And I remember many of my friends, the CBC friends, colleagues, and others who are of that woke mindset, they were cheering. And I thought, my God, how many of you have lost your jobs over the years? How many of you are destined to lose your jobs in the future? And many, many, many of them have. And it was inappropriate for them to be cheering at the time just because a news organization that was more conservative in tone had been basically killed because they weren't being allowed to play on the same plane at the same level, and even on the same playing field They weren't even allowed on the field, couldn't get access to cable. So they died. Out of that, actually, we got Rebel News in Canada. Not exactly like Sun News, not owned by the same company, but Ezra Levant, Brian Lilly, those two guys, they were at the Sun News Network. We got Rebel. But this, to me, smacks of exactly that kind of attitude again from this lady, where she is like, let's shut these guys down. Let's get their sponsors taken away. You know what, man? You better be careful what you do, because people on the other side may turn around to do the same darn thing to you. And then things start to just get nasty all the way around, and everybody ends up losing. And it's just not appropriate anyway, because if you're a journalist, or even if you're in the business of being a media critic, it's just plain wrong to be going after journalists or media organizations trying to have them shut down, in my view, because that's an assault on free speech and freedom of media. And then to make a video like that, criticizing Matt Walsh and the Daily Wire, okay, well, I mean, you're free to do that. I mean, she's going after them and trying to hammer them on media ethics, the ethics of being, properly presenting who and what they stand for. Fair enough, I guess. But then you look in, and what's the real agenda here? They want to shut everybody down that they disagree with. It's another kind of a form of, well, it's cancel culture, deplatforming, non-governmental censorship. So while that video is going around and it's being distributed, I thought I'd play that for you and then give you a little bit more context so that you really understand where she's coming from. It's not that she's, neutral or trying to practice some sort of fair, balanced journalism, presenting all sides of a story. No, she's an activist and she has an agenda, and that agenda is to get conservative media outlets shut down and to discredit organizations like the Daily Wire, like Breitbart, like Fox News, and others. And maybe even just by talking about it here tonight, maybe this channel too. I hope she leaves us alone. I've got enough trouble. I'm just talking about it. Heck, if she wants to come on this program, I'd give her a voice. She can speak to it directly. Happy to have her on, or anybody else. And we can have these discussions. I have my personal political views. I'm, as you know, very conservative. I'm a free market kind of guy, and I'm all about free speech, freedom of media, and that obviously runs against the grain with people like her. Don't go away. More still ahead when we come back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
So our good friend and contributor here on the Maverick News channel, Leo, Mouth of the South, sent me a clip to a video that he has produced, and he's drawing attention again to this convicted rapist in the Windsor area, Windsor, Ontario, Canada. This also raises ethical questions for me and, potentially even legal questions. And I've wrestled with this exact kind of thing many times over the years working as a journalist. So this, in the view of many people, and including Leo, is what he describes as a public service. I totally get it. I'm going to run this for you so that you can hear what Leo has to say. And to his credit, he fully discloses that he actually has sort of a connection to the person that he's calling out in this statement that he makes online. So let's listen to what Leo has to say. And then I'm going to come back and comment. And then I'm going to run a second video that Leo produced as well on the same subject.
Good afternoon. This is a public service message to everybody, plain and simple. We're living in strange times. Know who your neighbor is, plain and simple. You never know who the guy is next door unless you do your due diligence and check into it. I know people don't want to be Karens and nosy and this and that, but I would like to know if I was living next door to a pedophile or a rapist, especially when I have kids. Okay, and you guys know where I'm going with it. It's a public service announcement. The city's filled with creeps, and you see it and you hear about it all day long. Now, these judges, they know, they give people slap on the wrist. Oh, yeah, it sounds you're going to get 7 years in prison. When the way that the federal system works is you do 1/6 of your time and you're out on parole. So you do less than 15 months on a 7-year sentence for sexual assaults and offenses against women and kids and elderly and the whole 9 yards, right? So just be vigilant. I see car spotters, and there's a million groups out there that are popping up about the Ben Smythe case. Okay, and they know where he lives in the whole 9 yards, and apparently he's in a business, or his wife's in a business. I don't know much about it. I could care less about the guy, and I could care less if he jumped off the Ambassador Bridge. Now, my connection to Ben Smythe is simple. My sister was married to him and had four beautiful kids. Okay, and when the DNA came out, she split. Adios, divorce, and the kids have not seen him since. Okay, so she's protective of the kids, plain and simple. And she hasn't talked to him, and she don't want nothing to do with him, period. And you can't blame him. You can't blame the kids. You can't blame her. Okay, the kids are innocent. They're stuck in the middle of some shit that happened, and they don't hold his last name, period. So they're good kids. So back to the story, but apparently he's on title at a residence in Lakeshore on his property, and they do all kinds of crazy stuff, from petting zoos to whatever, yoga, whatever, prom parties for high school kids. As a parent, I'd like to know where I'm dropping my fucking kids off to a prom party, and whose house it is, and who's going to be there. And you should have that right too. With the way that the sex registry works, we don't have a sex registry. So I'm not here to defame anybody. He's already done that to himself. Okay, bringing you the facts. It's the truth. There's no defamation of character here. I don't know his wife, so I'm not going to talk about his wife, his current wife, or their business or whatever, because I don't know what's going on there. But I am going to talk about him. And I've heard all kinds of crazy stuff. Okay, in the last 48 hours, my phone is blowing up like no tomorrow. On social media, it's blowing up. I got messages from 15 different groups and people, and I'm just, like I said, this is a public service announcement. Beware. Okay, he's not the only creep out there. There's lots of creeps out there. Yeah, I've heard such things as underage drinking going on at these parties. Well, you know what? Prom parties, we all know what happens at prom parties. Okay, kids are kids. There'll be booze, there'll be drugs, there'll be all kinds of crazy stuff going on at prom parties. Okay, I was once a youngster myself, and you know, his MO was young girls, drunk girls. So I'd be very weary, very, very, very weary. As a father, as a parent, okay, and a good parent, I've raised my kids and with the same partner, and their kids are all older now. They're all adults, and you know, we've done a remarkable job. But I don't let my kids near anybody. When it came down to churches, strangers, even family members, I just don't trust people. I never did, and I never will. Right, and that's why my kids haven't been victimized by anybody, because I don't play that game. You know, as a parent, how are we supposed to protect our children when the court systems don't protect the people? You know, I got more time for a bag of weed than half these guys are getting for rape charges and violent crimes against women and children and elderly. Sickening. Very sickening, the justice system, right? They know goddamn well what they're doing, exactly what they're doing when it comes down to sentencing these people. And they'll sit there and they are for lip service in the media. He's a monster, this and that. He's done this, he's done that. But here's only 5 years in jail. Oh, you already spent 2 awaiting trial, so you only have 3 to do. Oh, you'll be paroled in 6 months. It's a fucking joke. Need longer sentences for these creeps. There's no cure for them, period. None. There's zero cure for these people. You could try the castration. I think everybody knows where I'm going. I'm not going to say it on here because I'll get banned. But the only cure for them is we'll play charades. That's the only cure for them. So with that being said, I'm getting bombarded by, like I said, all these people in different groups and strangers and everything else asking questions about it. The information's out there. I didn't put it out there. I did expose it in the beginning a couple years ago, but where he's at now, I don't know where I've never been there. And but the information's out there. Check it out. Car Spotters has it. Rant Raves, all kinds of different groups I never belonged to before, right? But I'm being reached out by a bunch of numerous groups, Comber groups, Bell River groups, okay, because they want to know, and I don't blame them. You have the right to know. It's not slanderous, okay. It's not libelous in court, anyways. What I just said, because it's the truth. Now, if I'm going to make things up, now it's slanderous and it's libelous in court, and I can be sued. I will never, ever say something about somebody unless I'm 1,000,000% sure. And when the DNA had them at 1,000,000 to 1, tells you right there, right? And you hear all kinds of crazy stuff. Oh, well, he pled guilty. No, he pled guilty because he got caught with the DNA and he took a sweet fucking deal from the Crown. The only ones to blame here are the Crown and the judges and everybody involved, plain and simple. You got a sweet deal. And, you know, as we look right now, we're on the verge of, actually, he's already in medium security, Paul Bernardo. And what happens is now he's lower security. It's only a matter of time. Even though he's a dangerous offender, he still goes up in front of the parole board every 3 years for his routinely parole hearing and see how he's progressed, this and that. To me, when they start cutting you down to medium to minimum security, it's only a matter of time before the creep's out. And that's scary. For what these people done, it's scary. So with that being said, have a good day. I got to go punch in.
Okay, so we did give you all the background information on that rape case the other night. Gave you the whole story, essentially. And Leo commented that night as well. Now, there was also some reference made the other night to some sexual assaults that have taken place in Windsor's Tecumseh Park. And I just want to clarify that we do not know who is responsible for those particular cases. No charges, to my knowledge, have been laid. And in no way are we suggesting that any one particular person is absolutely responsible for what has happened in those cases. But it does, of course, provide additional perspective, and it makes you see that you need to be careful, protect yourself, and we know that there are still people out there who will hurt other people. So be aware of that. Now, with that being said, I can say that with a story like this, I have always wrestled with the ethics surrounding it. What Leo has done here is, I think, very similar to what police have often done in this country, where if a known sex offender, especially a pedophile, is released from custody and then takes up residence in a neighborhood, I have seen and I have experienced, I have reported on police services posting pictures and putting out notifications to people in the neighborhood so that they know that known sex offender, convicted sex offender, whoever that might be, has moved into their neighborhood so they can be aware. That is problematic for the person who is identified as the sex offender. It makes it very difficult for that person to integrate into the community, find any kind of gainful employment, or even conduct just day-to-day activities, even after being released from jail and serving their sentence, and then, making an attempt to get back to some sort of life in the community. So I, as a journalist in the past, always wrestled with those sorts of things to see what is in the best interest of the public, what's in the public interest. It's a very difficult thing, right? Because is it ethical to call attention like that to someone who has essentially, technically, maybe not in real terms, but technically, they've paid their debt to society by serving out their term in jail or prison? And then, after serving their sentence, then they're released. One such case I dealt with, where police then posted pictures of someone in exactly that situation all through the neighborhood. They put them up on like lamp posts and delivered them to people's houses. They went on television and the newspapers. I was called over to do interviews with police so that they could notify the community that this person, this is quite a long time ago, had moved into the neighborhood and they were a known sex offender, had been released. So I did the story. But because I always want to provide balance and fairness, I made it a point to go over and seek comment from the person who had been released from prison. It was a difficult situation because they had been released. They were living in like a rundown hotel, which was being used as sort of like a halfway transitionary place for people to stay after they've been released from jail. But of course, everywhere this person went, people knew who he was. Couldn't go to the corner store, couldn't go grocery shopping, couldn't go to the park, couldn't walk downtown, certainly couldn't get a job. There was no way for the guy to really properly function in the community because everywhere that he went, people would attack him, shut him down. And of course, nobody had any sympathy for the guy. So how is he supposed to live? That, of course, backs him into a corner, makes it very difficult for him to even live, survive, even get food to eat. I don't know if that's fair or if it isn't fair, but that's the reality of it. So I wanted to talk to the guy. So in that particular case, I went and I found out where he was living. And then I waited and waited and waited and waited. And finally, he came out and he wouldn't talk to me. Of course, he was afraid because I was there with a camera and he refused to talk to me. Well, for me, I'm on public property. And this is exactly what I spoke to earlier, where, you don't have to deceive people in order to get comments sometimes. Sometimes the best approach is the direct approach. So I just went up with the camera rolling. He wouldn't talk to me. I also had a camera mounted on my vehicle. So he went to take off and he got on a bicycle and I pursued him in my vehicle with the camera mounted. And I pulled up alongside him while he's pedaling down the road and he's trying to get away from me. And I was shouting questions at him out the window while I'm driving and the camera's rolling, it's mounted, and I've got my hands on the steering wheel and all is well. And I'm just asking him questions as I'm driving down the road. I didn't feel really good about it. I don't like to hassle or harass people in any way like that, but that was my job. And I really wanted a comment from the guy. So I got all the footage. And of course, the bottom line is he took off and rode his bike down through a field where I couldn't follow on my vehicle. And that was the end of that. But I got all the footage. I got the whole exchange between myself and this guy. And of course, a lot of people applauded and they thought that, my aggressive interview of this guy, which was, I think, appropriate, at the time. People applauded me because they felt like I was essentially chasing him out of the neighborhood. And in a way, I sort of did. And I drew more attention to him. But I also knew that what I was doing was in the public interest at the time, and not really because I was chasing him out of the community. What ended up happening is, you see, he really living in that particular facility, it was just a hotel. He had no support, no way of surviving. And because he was being backed into a corner, it was pretty clear to me that it was only a matter of time before he committed some sort of other offense, whether it was to break into some store or a house or something to get the things that he needed to survive, because he couldn't work, couldn't make money, couldn't even go shopping. So at some point, people get desperate and they need to survive. So it was only a matter of time before he did whatever he had to do. That wouldn't be good for the neighborhood either. Bottom line is, as a result of that story being done, you know, some of the social workers and agencies in town brought their resources to bear on the situation. They went and saw the guy, and they moved him to another community and put him into a facility where he actually received support and counseling and supervision as his parole continued. And that was better for the community that he moved into. It was a more appropriate place, and he got support so that he could survive, and so that the neighborhood and the people who lived in it could actually be better protected. Because one way or another, that guy was out. Couldn't just throw him back in jail for no reason. I suppose if you back him into a corner and he reoffends for something, he gets thrown back in the slammer. But at that point, somebody would have been victimized and become the victim of yet another crime, and who knows what that might have been. Now, I don't know what happened long term after that, but that was the best I could do at the time, and drawing attention to it in that manner was a public service. I think the police were trying to do their best with a difficult situation where someone had been released. Yeah, I think in their view, because they put people in jail and then they're released probably a lot sooner than the cops would like to see them released, and certainly a lot sooner than most people in our communities would like to see these kinds of offenders released, for sure. But nevertheless, there they were on the street. So the end result was, I think, a positive outcome. And cops trying to do their best, trying to make people aware in the community to protect our kids, protect our women, protect everybody, even, just protect the neighborhoods. And weighing that against people's actual rights as well. Because everybody has rights. You have to respect that as well. These are ethical questions that run pretty deep. So I understand what Leo's doing. It is, in a manner of speaking, a public service, what he has done. I think he's trying to be careful about not crossing the line and respecting not just the rights of the convicted rapist in this case. And he was convicted, did serve time. So what Leo is saying is absolutely true. This guy has defamed himself in the long term, but also, trying to respect the rights of the people around him and not mentioning them by name. And I think that's also to Leo's credit. Now, Leo did this video as well, where he actually confronted said convicted rapist.
So what we have here is Ben Smythe, convicted rapist, picked up a girl, soccer dad. He's out of fucking prison. Here he is. Say hi, Ben. Facebook Live. You're a fucking goof. Rape 5 fucking, you're telling me to look in the mirror. You're a fucking punk, okay? Remember when I fucking choked you out? I'll fucking choke you out again, motherfucker. You're a fucking piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. What fantasy world are you from? Oh, you didn't rape fucking women? This guy raped women, brutally raped women. Ben Smythe, he's in Windsor on the fucking street. See you later, you fucking goof. Yeah. See ya. Anytime you fucking want. Oh, yeah. PC. Oh, yeah. You're a fucking goof. Everybody Google the name. This is what he's driving. He's a contractor. Fucking punk. You're a fucking goof. Anytime, fuckface. He's a rapist, convicted fucking rapist. How do I know him? My sister was fucking married to him, has fucking 4 kids with him. Okay? It's him. 100%, it's him. He just confirmed it. He's a rapist. Look up his name, Ben Smythe. Google it. Fucking piece of shit. And that's how my day's going. Now I'm going to go help fucking the food drive. Fucking goof. Share this.
And we did. So assess for yourselves, folks, and wrestle with the ethics, if any, around that. You can decide for yourself how you want to view it. Now, FU Friday. I'm not doing it. I've done some soul searching, and as much as some people are having fun with it, not going to continue with it. It's not my style. It's not what I want this program to be. It was okay, I think, for a few weeks. But this puts us on an elevator racing to the bottom of the journalistic heap. And I don't want to get on that path. I think it's a trap. I want to keep this program on a higher plane. There's too much at stake. It is the internet. Language is looser, no doubt about it. So much of what has been said on this channel and what is said every day on social media would have had me fired so many times over when I was on television or working in radio, that I just, it makes my head spin every day that I'm on here. There's so many rules that just don't apply here online. That being said, I'm going to self-impose this decision to not continue with the FU Fridays. There will be plenty of opportunities to hold politicians accountable through this platform. That is what we are here for. But I don't think we need to, on a regular basis, have things sort of descend into the area of profanity for the sake of just letting people get things off their chest on a regular basis. No doubt the F word's going to slip out here and there, as it just did in what Leo presented here tonight in those videos. I offered those up, and I guess that's sort of today's edition of FU Friday. Thank you, Leo, for providing that. That was clearly his message to Mr. Smythe. And I think that for tonight, on the FU front, that's probably adequate. And with that being said, we are going to wrap things up for the evening. I'm not going to take any calls. Quite honestly, after a week of crazy news, my head is just swimming with stuff that has kind of left me feeling less than positive. And I don't like it. So as we now get into, a time period just after 9 p.m. on this beautiful June evening, I'm going to kind of leave it there. And as much as there was all this crap going on in the world today, as I went outside and I looked up in the sky, where I'm living, the sky was blue. The sun was shining. The weather was beautiful. It's been a gorgeous day. And there's so much that I have to be thankful for, even as the world around us goes mad. Even as there are crazy people among us who seek to harm others. Even as we have a war that seems like a conflict that can't be resolved. Somehow I still have hope and faith in people. We're going to find a way. It's going to be okay. But I just don't want to indulge in any of the FU stuff tonight. I don't want to get into any more negativity. I'm just going to leave the information out there for you guys, and we'll resume with calls tomorrow night. Maybe. I think so tomorrow. And we've got an important subject to discuss tomorrow night that I don't even want to mention what it is, because it's going to set off a firestorm here tonight of people. You're not going to want to miss tomorrow night's show. And if there is a call in, you're probably going to want to call in. It's going to be a barn burner. So big show tomorrow night. And I'm looking forward to Monday with Pastor Art as well. Don't know what we're doing Sunday. Sunday, Lori's here. Lori's coming back. And I think we've got a guest joining us from Crimea to talk about that dam, the situation with that dam and the flood, the dam that was compromised. And now, of course, that whole area flooded out, and a lot of problems for the people living there. So we'll bring you up to date on that live from the site of the dam. Got somebody on the ground there who's going to join us on the program Sunday. So look forward to that as well. Again, anybody that donates tonight, $70 or more, I'll send you a free polo shirt with the embroidered Maverick logo right on it. And they are nice ones. So I'll leave that with you. You can donate at freedomreporters.com, or you can also donate at maverickdonations.com. If you are seeking the polo shirt, and I have a limited number of them, only a handful. So first come, first served. Probably get more made later, but that's all I've got right now. And just make sure you put in the notation when you make the donation that you want the shirt with your address, mention the shirt and your size, and I'll send it out to you. Really appreciate all of that. Make sure you share on Facebook like crazy. Like, share, subscribe on YouTube. If you do subscribe on YouTube, hit the notification bell, and please consider subscribing over on Rumble as well, because we are growing over there, and that is a free speech platform. I will be back tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on the Maverick News Channel, where we have the antivirus programs for your mind. Catch you on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.